I have a story to share, and before I share the story, I know growing up, most of us grew up with the good um, paint a picture of the Nollywood scene, whereby it's usually from the grass to grace story. They were poor in the beginning, they had a lot of setbacks, and after a while, they rose and became maybe billionaires. Yeah, I know that's the picture that is in your head. That's the life you want. That's the life I also want. But sometimes life look at us and tell you that no, I'm going to send some setbacks your way. So there was a rookie playing with Michael Jordan, the famous basketballer, and the rookie more or less like poised in his head that he was going to beat Michael Jordan, considering that Michael Jordan was the world best at that particular time. And this guy literally tried everything within his possible means to play an awesome game, right? If we are familiar with basketball here, we know what it means to play with some good players, some great players. Good does not cut Michael Jordan. I think great cuts it. And Michael noticed that this guy literally wanted to play so well, and no problem. At the end of the game, Michael walked up to him and told him that, yeah, I saw you. Well done, you are good. But the reason why I will beat you or had the higher chances of beating you at this game is because I failed so many times. According to an interview that was done by your youthful story, 17th February 2017 with Michael Jordan, where he said that he has missed 9,000 shots, he has lost over 300 games, and 26 times the team has expected him to take the winning shots moments. We all know those winning shots moments. But he missed them 26 times. So literally, Michael was familiar with failure. 2018, Emmanuel had Olowookere, which happens to be me, experienced failure. And it was failure on both sides. You know, it's one thing to have to experience academic failure. Then it's one thing to experience a kind of love life failure. What a pity. So I remember that back then, I was on a journey, right, to break the jinx of having a first girlfriend in year 4, right? And I was on this particular journey for 6 months. Yes, I was asking someone out for 6 months. Very diligent guy. I was consistent with asking out. But you know the funniest thing about the story is that 2 days before they released our year 4 results, back then, I'm a medical doctor, so medical school, right? And 2 days before they released that result, the lady told me no. After 6 months. The funny part about this story is that I prayed at redemption camp. The first time I stepped my feet in redemption camp as an adult, I mentioned her name. And I felt God was talking to me that, yes, pursue. But I got a no. 2 days after the no, to let you know how funny it is, I remember the date, October 6, 2018, and October 8th. Is that October 7 or October 8th? That's the range. And they released the results. And I was going to repeat the year. Yeah, so the two no's came back to back. And I began to experience what they call the weight of failure. At that particular point when I saw it, or when I saw my results, I really didn't. I think I took Orange after. Ate Orange, played video game. And you max it off. We'll do it again. For that moment, for the next few weeks, I experienced what they call weight of failure. And the weight of failure or a setback literally means that it wants to push you into an isolation. You do things, but you know you're not enjoying yourself, you're mad at yourself, you you speak to yourself in a demeaning way because you just failed or you are experiencing a setback. Now, this is not just relating to academic failure alone, but failure at certain stages of our life where you know that maybe you have had everything planned out, everything worked out, and experiencing that setback or that failure means that you are going back to ground zero. And for that moment, I'm going to talk to us about how to handle failure and the best response to give failure or a setback. That can be the title of my speech this afternoon. We're choosing the responsibility to create a mental capacity for us to withstand setbacks and failure. I met with a prof on my trip down to Ife. And I was of the opinion or school of thought that, or the society has presented it in a way that it looks as if a generation is well prepared for failure, while one generation is not prepared for setbacks. So it looks as if the older generation handled setbacks, while our generation, the Gen Z generation, does not know how to handle setback. But in my conversation with the man, Professor Henry, he said something. He said it's not a generational thing. And at that point, I realized that actually it's not actually a generational thing. We can remember someone within your community, old man, that you know at one particular time or the other that experienced failure and he never got out of it. Our parents would have told us one story or the other. So I realized that it's actually our responsibility. Your response to failure is your own personal responsibility. Your response to setbacks is your own responsibility. And there are a lot of factors that that comes in play, right? That can help you or that can make the responsibility easier or harder, right? But I'm here to focus on the easy part. Maybe the hard part. Maybe someone else will handle it in the next TEDx. So what is the easy part? Finding the support you need. That's the first thing. Finding the support you need can be a whole lot. But when you find the right support that you need, and you know the right support comes from the first institution that we ever engage in, which is what? Family. For some, they may be lucky. For some, they are not lucky. Are we going to blame the first institution for that? Not necessarily. We don't need to play the blame game because I said it is your what? Responsibility. For me, what was particular in my own story or peculiar in my own story was that my support came from my father. After my father, the other support came from my pastor. You now know what made it even worse? Like about my failure, I was popular. So when they ask you, oh, you graduated this year, then you literally just have to say, oh, no, not really. I failed. The support came at a very important point because an identity wanted to crop in, wanted to crawl in, which was in 2018. So 2018 felt like failure. And towards the tail end, everything happens towards the tail end of 2018. So consistently, I was having that identity of anything I try to do, I might fail. Now, this might sound funny because there are some people here that knew me as far back as 2018. There are some people that know me as far back as longer than that maybe never saw this or never heard me talk like this. The support came and helped a whole lot of things, but there was still a little bit of the identity. So I had to do that myself. after the support, what also helped me was communities, like friendships, communities, activities. So I actively engaged in something that could give me a sense of victory. So I literally placed the academic failure and a sense of success or a sense of victory side by side. For some, I took on more extracurricular activities. It felt like, oh, this guy, he's not even a doctor. He's not a medical student. He's not a normal medical student. Yes. I was not a normal medical student. But that was my way out. That was my coping mechanism. So you need to find your coping mechanism. Now, your coping mechanism must be within the boundaries of a good coping mechanism, because you can get a coping mechanism that can cause serious withdrawal symptoms for you, making use of psychoactive substances, which you don't want to get into. For some, it becomes a clinical spectrum of mental illnesses, clinical depression, um, clinical depression, use of psychoactive substances. There is a downward spectrum, right? For some, support, communities, coping mechanisms may not work. It might be actual therapy. It might be a need for you to speak with someone that has experienced what you are experiencing, one, or someone that is trained to help you out of the journey. And this is a marathon. And I need you to know that this is not something that is imprinted in each of the family members or each person you know. Our mental capacity vary from each other's own. And it is fine. Just as the prints on our fingers are different from each other, that's how our mental capacity vary from each other. And whenever you step out of this talk or this event, I think we need to extend a hand of grace or kindness to each one another. As I always say, everyone needs to be a mental health advocate. Now, this is not just the fanciful, mental health this, mental health that. No, I'm not talking about that. Everybody needs to have an idea of what it takes to handle each other, handle each other's emotions, handle each other's feelings, both gender, regardless of whether you're a man or a woman. But this journey is a marathon, as I've said, and it is fine, and it is also okay to know that you might not get out of it once. You might not get out of the setback once. You might still have a couple of such setbacks in the process. But the right mindset and the right response to things will definitely help you. I will say that when you focus on things that you can control and you leave the things that you can't control, you are in the right direction to getting out of the setback. And I want you to know that no amount of failure, no amount of setback defines who we are. There's a popular tag that the society wants to crawl in and put on us whenever something happens to us. It is your responsibility to fight that tag. It is your responsibility to fight that identity. And I'll be closing my speech this afternoon to let you know that with one statement, that focus on what you can control and leave what you cannot control. Thank you.